Based on on-field performance, stats, accomplishments, Shedeur Sanders has no business in the Pro Bowl. But the Pro Bowl game, the flag football game, the embarrassment of a game that should be canceled, it's the only thing Shedeur is actually qualified to play in.
My mama would always send me this text, and right before we would go off to school, she would pray over us, and one of the main things that she would say, I hear it very vivid in my mind. Favor ain't fair. What's for me, is for me. Adding Shedeur to the Pro Bowl, not to say he ain't deserving, it's good business. And the NFL know that, because it's still a business.
The NFL offseason just became a war zone, and at the center of this explosive controversy stands a 22-year-old quarterback who's played exactly 6 games in the National Football League. His name? Shedeur Sanders. And right now, he's the most talked about player in football for all the wrong reasons, or maybe all the right ones, depending on who you ask.
Shedeur Sanders, the Deion Sanders' son, the Cleveland Browns' 5th-round draft pick, their quarterback the last 5-6 weeks of the season, is somehow got selected to the NFL Pro Bowl.
The announcement dropped like a bombshell. Shedeur Sanders selected to the NFL Pro Bowl. And within seconds, the internet erupted into absolute chaos. Critics came out of the woodwork, hot takes flew like missiles, and leading the charge against this rookie quarterback was none other than Jason Whitlock, armed with stats, comparisons, and a whole lot of outrage.
How could Shedeur, who threw 10 interceptions, 7 TDs, completed about 54% of his passes, look very, very pedestrian in his start.
But then something happened that Whitlock didn't see coming, something that changed the entire trajectory of this conversation. Cam Newton, former MVP, Super Bowl quarterback, and one of the most influential voices in football, stepped into the arena. And when Cam speaks on behalf of young black quarterbacks, you better listen.
We knew we was gonna get y'all to rage bait and move and shake the bush. Come on now. Adding Shedeur to the Pro Bowl, not to say he ain't deserving, it's good business. And the NFL know that, because it's still a business.
Let's set the stage. Shedeur Sanders finished his rookie campaign with numbers that on paper look absolutely pedestrian for a Pro Bowl selection. We're talking 120 completions out of 212 attempts. That's roughly 53% completion percentage. He threw for only 1,400 yards, barely enough to call it a season. 7 touchdowns against 10 interceptions, a passer rating of 68, and a 3-4 record as a starter. Those aren't Pro Bowl numbers. Those aren't even good numbers. And Jason Whitlock came prepared with receipts.
Here's a list of quarterbacks that they could have selected. Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, Cam Ward. There's a bunch of more qualified guys than Shedeur Sanders.
The comparison that really drove home Whitlock's point: Trevor Lawrence, 4,000 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions, a 91 passer rating, and a 13-4 record as a starting quarterback. On paper, it's not even close. Trevor Lawrence looks like an MVP candidate compared to Shedeur's rookie numbers. And honestly, Whitlock had a point. If you're looking purely at statistics, purely at wins and losses, purely at traditional football metrics, Shedeur Sanders getting a Pro Bowl nod over established veterans seems absurd. But here's where the story takes a turn. Here's where Cam Newton enters the picture with a perspective that completely reframes the entire controversy. Because Cam doesn't defend Shedeur by arguing about stats. He doesn't try to convince anyone that 10 interceptions and 7 touchdowns is Pro Bowl worthy. Instead, Cam does something brilliant. He exposes what the Pro Bowl has actually become.
Yeah, you can say that he ain't supposed to, but I'll tell you this. given the circumstances of what the Pro Bowl is and what it used to be, is two different Pro Bowls.
Boom. Right there, Cam dismantles the entire premise of the outrage because everyone attacking Shedeur is operating under a false assumption that the Pro Bowl still means what it used to mean, that it's still a sacred honor reserved only for the elite, that it still has integrity. But Cam knows better. He's been to Pro Bowls. He's seen how they've evolved, or more accurately, devolved into something completely different from what they once were. The Pro Bowl used to be played in Hawaii after the Super Bowl. It was an actual football game with actual tackling. Players took pride in being selected. It meant something to your legacy. But now, it's a flag football exhibition held before the Super Bowl, guaranteeing that the actual best players won't participate because they're busy playing for championships. Drake May got selected to this year's Pro Bowl. You know what he said? Nah, I'm playing in the Super Bowl. And just like that, there's an opening. The NFL needs a quarterback. They need someone who can actually generate interest in an event that loses viewers every single year. Enter Shedeur Sanders. And this is where Cam's defense becomes absolutely genius. Because he's not arguing that Shedeur is better than Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow. He's arguing something far more important, that in 2026, the Pro Bowl isn't about who's best. It's about who can make people watch.
Popularity contest at the end of the day.
Okay, I was just
because it's still a business.
Yeah, they work.
The NFL say, hey man, we got to still meet our visual quota.
Yeah.
Who gonna be the bigger story? Yeah. We knew we was gonna get y'all to rage bait.
Think about that for a second. The NFL knew this would cause controversy. They knew people would be outraged. They knew critics would lose their minds. And they invited Shedeur anyway. Because controversy creates conversation, conversation creates attention, and attention creates ratings. Love him or hate him, Shedeur Sanders is the most talked about young quarterback in football. He's got the primetime pedigree, he's got the confidence, he's got the swagger, he's got millions of social media followers, and most importantly, he's got something that Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and Aaron Rodgers don't have when it comes to the Pro Bowl. People actually care whether he plays or not. Jason Whitlock actually admitted this in his own segment, even while trying to criticize Shedeur.
Certainly, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, that whole laundry list of quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, none of them could draw any interest to this game. Only one person could. Shedeur.
Wait, let that sink in. Jason Whitlock just made the perfect case for why Shedeur should be in the Pro Bowl. If the goal is to save a dying exhibition game that nobody watches, and Shedeur is the only player who can generate interest, then he's not just qualified, he's essential. But Whitlock doesn't want to admit that, because admitting that would mean acknowledging that the entire system has changed, that merit and stats don't matter as much as marketability and buzz, that the NFL is a business first and a sport second. And Cam Newton, he has no problem admitting that truth.
Adding Shedeur to the Pro Bowl, not to say he ain't deserving, is good business. And the NFL know that because it's still a business.
Good business. That's the phrase that encapsulates everything. The NFL isn't a charity. It's not a meritocracy where the most deserving always get rewarded. It's a multi-billion-dollar entertainment empire that makes decisions based on what drives revenue, generates attention, and keeps people talking. And you know what? Shedeur Sanders does all three better than any other available quarterback. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Look at the social media engagement. Look at the headlines. Look at the think pieces and hot takes. Shedeur Sanders' Pro Bowl selection has generated more conversation than the actual Pro Bowl game will generate viewers. But here's where the defense of Shedeur becomes about something bigger than just business logic or Pro Bowl politics. Here's where Cam's protection of this young quarterback reveals something deeper about the double standards young black athletes face. Because let's be honest, if this were a white quarterback with famous coaching lineage accepting a Pro Bowl, would the backlash be this intense? Would people be questioning his character for accepting? Would analysts be calling it an embarrassment to the league? Or would they say, hey, the kid's got potential, let him enjoy the experience. It's just a flag football game. Cam sees through all of this. He's lived it. He's experienced the double standard his entire career. And he's not going to let the critics do to Shedeur what they tried to do to him, tear him down before he even gets his chance to prove himself. The genius of Cam's defense is that he doesn't deny the criticism has merit statistically. He acknowledges that other quarterbacks had better seasons, but he shifts the conversation to what actually matters in this context.
That ain't nothing but a flag football game.
Exactly. It's flag football. It's not the Super Bowl. It's not an MVP award. It's not even a real game that counts for anything. It's an exhibition, a showcase, entertainment. So why is everyone treating Shedeur's acceptance like he just committed a crime against football? Why the moral outrage? Why the attacks on his character? Because it's never really been about the Pro Bowl. It's been about something deeper: control, gatekeeping, and making sure young black athletes with confidence know their place. It's about the establishment maintaining power over who gets celebrated and who gets torn down. Whitlock even admits the Pro Bowl has become meaningless.
Pro Bowl is not a real competition, hasn't been for about 2 decades now. The players are uninterested in playing. It's hot garbage.
So if it's been hot garbage for 2 decades, why is Shedeur the scapegoat? Where was this righteous indignation for the last 20 years of Pro Bowl selections? Where were the think pieces about integrity when the NFL moved it before the Super Bowl? Where were the critics when they changed it to flag football? They were silent. Because those changes didn't involve a confident young black quarterback with a famous father and millions of followers. But now that Shedeur's involved, now it's a crisis for the integrity of football. Cam sees the hypocrisy, and he's calling it out with a simple, powerful truth about how the world actually works.
Favor ain't fair. What's for me is for me.
That statement right there is everything, because Cam is teaching Shedeur and every young player watching a crucial lesson. The world isn't fair. Opportunities don't always go to the most deserving. Success isn't always about having the best stats. Sometimes you get opportunities because of timing, because of marketability, because of circumstances beyond your control. And when those opportunities come, you take them. You don't apologize. You don't shrink. You don't let critics make you feel guilty for accepting what's been offered to you. Shedeur Sanders didn't campaign to be in the Pro Bowl. He didn't manipulate the system. He didn't cheat or steal anything. The NFL extended an invitation and he accepted it. That's all that happened here. But the critics want to make it seem like he committed some unforgivable sin, like he's disrespecting the game by accepting an invitation to play flag football in a game that most star players actively avoid.
The mental gymnastics are exhausting, and Cam's not playing that game. What makes Cam's defense even more powerful is the context of his own career. This is a man who won the Heisman Trophy, became the #1 overall pick, won an MVP award, went to a Super Bowl, and revolutionized the quarterback position with his dual threat ability. And throughout all of that success, he faced constant criticism for his style, his celebrations, his confidence, his fashion choices, his way of speaking. The critics never left him alone. They always found something to attack. And now, watching them pile on Shedeur as simply accepting a Pro Bowl invitation, Cam recognizes the same playbook being run on the next generation. He's saying, not this time, not on my watch.
And the NFL know that, because it's still a business.
This bears repeating because it's the foundation of the entire defense. The NFL is a business. Every decision they make is calculated. Every selection is strategic. Every move is designed to maximize revenue and attention. The NFL didn't accidentally invite Shedeur to the Pro Bowl. They didn't make a mistake. They made a calculated business decision based on who could generate the most buzz, the most headlines, the most social media engagement, and ultimately the most eyeballs on their struggling exhibition game. And you know what? It worked. Mission accomplished. We're all talking about the Pro Bowl now. When's the last time anyone cared about the Pro Bowl? When's the last time it generated this much conversation? Shedeur Sanders saved the Pro Bowl from complete irrelevance just by accepting the invitation. The NFL should be thanking him, not apologizing for him. But here's the real kicker. the ultimate irony that Whitlock accidentally revealed.
The embarrassment of a game that should be canceled. It's the only thing Shedeur is actually qualified to play in.
In trying to insult Shedeur, Whitlock made the perfect argument for why Shedeur belongs there. If the Pro Bowl is an embarrassment that should be canceled, if it's not real competition, if it's just entertainment, then Shedeur is perfectly qualified because he's the most entertaining option available. Whitlock tried to have it both ways, claiming the Pro Bowl is meaningless while also being outraged that Shedeur was selected. You can't do both. Either it matters and we should care about who gets selected, or it doesn't matter and we shouldn't care that Shedeur got invited. Cam understands this contradiction, and he's not engaging with it. Instead, he's teaching a masterclass in how to handle critics. Acknowledge reality, speak your truth, and refuse to apologize for opportunities that come your way. The bottom line is this: Shedeur Sanders is 22 years old. He's played 6 NFL games. He's got his entire career ahead of him. Maybe he becomes a franchise quarterback. Maybe he doesn't. But right now, in this moment, the NFL invited him to participate in a flag football exhibition game. And the only appropriate response is, "Congratulations, young man. Enjoy the experience. Learn from it. Have fun." And honestly, that's exactly what Shedeur needed: a voice powerful enough, respected enough, and fearless enough to push back against the hate and say what everyone's thinking but too afraid to say. The Pro Bowl is a business decision. Shedeur generates attention. The NFL made a smart choice. End of story. He got the invitation, he accepted it, and no amount of hate can change that reality.